Welcome back. My name is David Mulligan. I'm your host for the Writers Bloc and the Virtual Channel Network. Okay, so let's dive right in. Last week we got a lot of cool stuff from Lawrence Kasdan's Raiders of the Lost Ark, 1979, 30 years ago. So let's take a look. We are moving on to... Oh, this is great. This is the first thing I wanted to get to. If you look at the script online, and you watch the movie, and what I did actually is I watched the movie scene by scene. I read it, I watched the scene, stopped, and then went on to the next scene. Interesting thing here is, in the original 1979 script, they have a whole thing with him going to Shanghai. He doesn't go from the United States to Nepal, as he does in the movie. He goes to Shanghai. He's getting a piece of the headpiece of the Staff of Ra. Apparently they fit together or something like that. And if you remember the second movie, the kid's name is Half Pint or something like that. I forget. But there's actually other characters in here we have never met. There is a driver named Buzz Keyhole that seems to be with him for a certain period of time. And his nemesis for this part of it is a guy named Hawk. I think he's General Hawk or something like that, and he's trying to get the piece. And there's a lot of stuff in here that made it into the second movie, which, of course, they took out of the first movie. Interesting, isn't it? So that's kind of cool. So definitely get the script and read that, and you can see, wow, you know, sometimes an idea works for one movie, but sometimes it doesn't, and you can save it for another movie, like the sequel. All right, let's move on. Let's move on to... in my script, it's 28, but I looked at a couple of different versions, so it might not be the same page. So I'll tell you where in the story we are. It's in the story where Indy meets up with Marion in her bar in Nepal. He wants to get the headpiece to the Staff of Ra. And what's interesting here is it's a completely different scene. Not completely, but very different scene than what you see in the movie. But the interesting thing is what they have on the page is not so bad. It's actually pretty cool. And it's a dialogue between Indy and Marion. Take a look at this. She tells him that her father, Dr. Ravenwood, is dead. He says, "What happened?" And Marion says, "Avalanche up there. He was digging. What else? He spent his whole life digging, dragging me all over this rotten earth for what?" "Did you find him?" Indy says. "Hell no, he's buried where he was working, probably preserved real good, too, in the snow." Well, what's interesting about this? Well, I think what's interesting about this is that it's sort of a metaphor or whatnot for archaeology, because technically speaking, he's going to become an artifact to a certain extent. In the movie, they used it very differently, and it's not in the script. When Belloc tells Indy, he says, "Look at this watch." And he talks about the watch, and you bury it for 1,000 years, and all, you know, $10 on the street, but if you bury it for 1,000 years, it's a lot of money, because it's all the same sort of theme. It all ties together. It's very cool. In Kasdan's case, he did it early on, and he did it with Marion. We never actually find out in the movie how Ravenwood died. We just know that he's dead. So, you know, so it's interesting. So when you write a script, it's very well possible that though your theme works really good, it may not be in the right place and the right form. You know what I mean? So, all right, let's take a look at... Oh, this is interesting. I love this. And I would have liked to have seen this on screen just to see what it would look like, just for, you know, giggles. In the end of this scene, she tells Indy to come back tomorrow. He wants the headpiece, he gives her money, and she says, "Get out of my place, I'll talk to you later," you know. When Kasdan writes it, he writes it a little bit differently. Take a look at this. Indy starts for the door. Marion takes another drink. She's getting high. She says, "Hold it, come here." Moving back, Indy says, "Bossy, aren't you?" "That's right. Give me a kiss." Indy looks into her eyes, then leans over the bar and kisses her deeply. When the kiss ends, their faces are very close. Marion is flushed. She likes it and would like more. She raises her glass between them to discipline herself. "Get out of my place," she says. Indy smiles and walks to the front door. Then, without looking back, Indy says, "Tomorrow." Really cool. Really cool. I like that. And that is kind of her character kind of thing. They didn't do that in the movie, but still, I like it, you know. So something to think about. Definitely something to think about.